Welcome to the first podcast for 2022. I'm so excited to share this podcast with everyone. This is a collaboration of the Oxygen coaching team, a portion of them, coming to you to talk to you about goals, which is such a hot topic at the beginning of every year. And so we came together to have a conversation about our own goals, some of the reference points that we use and talk about when coaching all of you. And you get to hear us talk amongst ourselves as coaches. It is our gift to you as we enter a new year. For some of you, you will be joining us for our tie game theory class, which is our goal setting class. And if that's something that you are interested in, please feel free to reach out. If you are not an Oxygen client, you can find some of our tie game theory videos throughout the year on our YouTube channel. And we want to take this time to wish you, your team, your families, and your friends a happy, healthy new year, and remind you that we are here to help you achieve your goals, build your plan, and always as a point of reference. So we hope you enjoy your podcast today. Happy New Year.
Hello, 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 my wonderful team. All right, so for those of you watching on YouTube today, welcome to our what is going to be our first podcast for 2022. So happy New Year to everyone who's watching today. This is going to be a little bit different than what you've seen before because you are getting to see face-to-face maybe one of the coaches that you hear from on a weekly basis, maybe somebody that you interact with on our coaching team. Some of you have gotten to see Rose in our 29 Days of Holiday Health Challenge, our boundaries training, but this is a larger portion of our training team, and we're here to not only wish you a happy new year, but also talk to you about what we all do in the new year, hopefully, which is set goals. And we're going to show up with them for you today and talk to you about how we personally do this thing called goal setting. So let's dive right in, if that sounds okay with everybody. So let's start with kind of the elephant in the room, if that's okay with everybody. When we hear the word goals, I think some people maybe aren't sure. So do we think goals are positive or negative, or maybe both? What do we think?
It depends on how it's framed. My knee-jerk reaction, though, is when someone says the word goals, I want to hear like a big siren go off, like, no, just stop right there. Nope, we're gonna reframe that. But it's good. It's a good, healthy thing. I can explain that more, but we'll talk about it, I'm sure. So somebody else go. Tell me what you think about goals.
Yeah, positive or negative? What else you guys got?
I'll say they're positive. If anything, I'm going to take something negative and make it positive with a goal.
I love that. Okay, Mario, what do you think?
I think goals are positive as well. I think from any perspective, you can always find some negative in something, but goals are generally positive. They are a way for us to set some standards and to stretch ourselves.
Okay, awesome. So we're coaches, right? All of us in some capacity. We're going to lean on Kayla a little bit more when it comes to the animal side of what Oxygen represents, but we all set them. How do you set a goal for yourself? And we can go broad here. How do you set a goal for yourself?
I'll go.
Okay, that was a big breath.
It was a big breath.
Well, it'll tie back to why I said, like, when I hear the word goal, it like triggers something negative. But I agree with everyone. Goals are absolutely positive and they're needed. But to me, a goal, and this is, by the way, not my quote, it's Harvey McKay's quote, a goal is a dream with a plan and a deadline. But I think we need to take that word goal and say all of those things. It's a dream with a plan and a deadline. And for me, I think the reason goals get like such a bad connotation is because we forget the dream part. We get the plan, we get the deadline. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't even get that part, because that's can be really challenging as well, like how to create a good plan and have a good deadline and realistic stuff. But dreaming is the big thing. So I would say, if there is anything that I would do for myself as far as goal setting is concerned, I'd be spending a lot of time in that dream phase without inhibiting myself. I liken it to like, if you celebrate Christmas, like making the Santa wish list when you were a child. You wrote anything on there, like the Miracle on 34th Street. She wants her mom to have a new husband, and then she wants a new house. Like, there was nothing going to stop this girl's list. And that's how our dreams should feel, like when we're setting goals and intentions, you know, either for a new year or any point in our lives, that it's really from this deeper place. It's from our dreams. Now we need to make that realistic, and we have to give it a plan and a deadline. But if it doesn't have a dream, forget about it. Just, it's pointless.
Yeah, that's so good. When I started prepping for this, I'd written down these 3 kind of quotes that I think that we all see, right? A goal without a plan is just a wish. Goals without deadlines are just dreams, and goals turn the invisible into the visible. So that all kind of ties in together, right? I have a list in my phone of all things I think I want. And then when they actually come to fruition, like when I truly can sit down and go, do I really want that? Like, I can dream big, but it comes into reality, I have to go back to that list and go, you know what, that one really does make sense. Now I can create the plan. Now I really want that. Taylor, what do you think?
I can agree with that. I mean, more from the animal side, you know, you have to have a plan to get there. You can't just all of a sudden become best of the best, top of the top, without getting through all the stages and, you know, going from, you know, we're feeling good to getting hard and then back to feeling good about it. I think that's a big part of a goal for me anyway, is that it's going to get harder before it gets easier, but the hard is worth the end result.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. One of the things that I think about when I hear the term goal is, and I'm gonna kind of peel back into, or should I say, fall back into some prior history or some prior lives that I've lived. The term SMART goal always comes to mind, where it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable. You know, we start walking through those things. Yes, that dream has to happen, but that dream has to have guardrails, has to have parameters. Now, again, that dream might be to send a rocket ship to Mars. There are some parameters and some guardrails on that, and it's still there, but it's a massive, massive dream. And that's one of the things that when I have conversations with people about goals, Elon Musk is one of the first ones that come to mind, because what boldness it took for him to say, hey, I'm going to invent an electric car, or, you know, not only that, but I'm going to start my own company that puts a man in the space or puts a woman in the space, or let's go even further. The goal is to get to Mars, but these are the steps along the way. Just the boldness behind that. But again, that's the dreaming big. There are still guardrails around it. There's still some things that are measurable, but it is it's about being bold in what your predictions are, and allowing that boldness to drive you, to lead you, and to put you in a point where you feel as if there's a sense of accomplishment in the little steps even. So
I like that. I love it when somebody says, if your dreams aren't big enough to scare you a little bit, maybe they aren't.
Yeah.
Right? Because we
That's
don't
true.
always believe enough in ourselves to really push. it kind of leads me into our next piece, right? All of us here on this call, especially or this podcast, we have a responsibility to our clients, and maybe someone listening to this isn't engaged with us from a client perspective, but could be. We hold people accountable on another level. How much value do you think that being with someone, maybe it's not us, but most likely it's us on some level, that accountability holds to a goal? Having an accountability partner, being a part of our accountability calls, what does that do to having a goal?
Well, obviously we're all coaches, so I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all going to raise our hand and be like, yes, I agree in accountability. But I don't agree with accountability as far as goals and being really important, because I'm a coach. I believe in it because I've watched it work for myself. When I've had those accountability kind of checkpoints in place, that's when I've achieved the most. And Kayla, like you kind of talked about this, like you're not going to go have this huge dream about being this amazing champion without some steps along the way. And actually, I think that's one of the key roles to being a really good coach and really good with accountability, is to help people take it from being champion or making it to Mars and breaking it down into daily or weekly action items. I had this client for years. He didn't ask me to help me with his personal goals. He actually didn't want help with his personal goals. He would only like bring his business goals to the table. And every year at the beginning of the year, when he was, setting his New Year's resolution, which isn't goal setting, by the way, let's just be clear. He would be like, I want to lose 40 pounds. I want to quit smoking, and I want to start exercising. So none of which he had ever done before. He had never quit smoking. He had never lost his 40 pounds, and he never really exercised. And every year he never did it. And it was like the third year I was coaching him, and he's like, hey, do you want to help me with this? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, guess what? It was like the 2nd of January, and somebody came into the office with donuts, and there I was, like on day 2 eating the donuts. And I'm like, well, tell me a little bit about what you did that day. And he like recaps the day. He's like, I got up at 6 a.m. and I normally get up at 7. And I'm like, okay. And then he's like, and then I went to the kitchen and I made myself a green smoothie instead of eating my bagel with cream cheese. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, then I went and I worked out in the living room. He got himself some machine for Christmas. And he's like, I was in pain. It was agonizing. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, no wonder you're feeling like, if you're looking at 40 pounds and quitting smoking and like starting an exercise plan, they're too broad, they're too big. Like we got to wrangle it in to something smaller, something we can bite off and chew on, which is where accountability really comes into play, where we can help people because we know what their smaller steps along the way are. And also to bring that full circle, we don't love to tell people this, and this is not my concept. This is from the book, The Slight Edge. I highly recommend. Oh no, it's not. It's from the book Switch, excuse me, but I'll talk about both books if we get a chance. It's from the book Switch, Making Change When Change is Hard. Self-discipline or discipline itself is actually an inexhaustible resource. So if we come out of the gate with this, I'm going to drink a green shake and get up an hour early. It goes back to that all or nothing mentality we have as humans. We don't believe that the small incremental steps get us there, but they actually are the only thing that get us there. And when I told him, I'm like, okay, well, let's start with you just getting up 10 minutes early every day. And after we've accomplished that, maybe we'll change something in our diet. And he's like, what do you mean? It'll be like March before. And I'm like, yeah, it might be March before ... But guess what? It's January 2nd and you already are off the track. So there might be something to this.
No, that's funny that you say that, because we were having a conversation with someone about the same thing, and I'm talking about an athlete for one. And one of the key things in any type of performance change is consistency. And that's in business, it's in your personal development, it's in just in life in general, it's consistency. So every day you need to do that one thing. Every day, do that one thing. And from that one thing, you can have some success, and there's growth in that, because now that one thing becomes your routine, it becomes your lifestyle change, it becomes your norm. And then you do that next thing that you do, and you grow from that. And I think that's really what you're speaking of when you're talking about making these changes. But one of the things that I heard in that whole conversation, and that really was kind of resonating in the back of my mind, is that a part of accountability is also respect. And what I mean by respect is respecting your accountability partner to understand that they have some input and some insight to offer you that's going to actually foster and facilitate some growth. I think for anyone who's entering into a coaching environment as the person who's being coached, you have to understand that your coach is not necessarily, or could be speaking from a point of experience, but also is speaking from a point of knowledge. So you have to be able to respect that knowledge and understand that accountability coach is there to help you make the next step. And yes, there will be setbacks. Yes, there will be the donut that you buy into and you say, I'm going to eat this donut today, and it sucks. But that doesn't mean you've lost. That just means that you've had a minor setback. And with any growth, there's a minor setback. With any growth, there's a minor setback. And I don't think people fully understand that. So I'll throw this at you. One of the best examples I have of that is Tiger Woods. So Tiger Woods, several years back, was at the top of his game, was just demolishing everyone. But he realized that he had a problem with his swing, because he was torquing his back so much. There was just a fundamental problem with how he hit the ball. So we went to a new swing coach, and that swing coach changed everything about his dynamics of his swing. And Tiger Woods fell off. He just fell. His game plummeted. He stopped winning majors, stopped winning matches, etc. Well, I think it was the British Open, and he was at the British Open, and Tiger golfed phenomenally and won the British Open, and then went on a string to win 8 straight. And that's when they realized that Tiger was back. But during this whole process, his coach was telling him, be patient. The change will happen when your body realizes that this is now the norm. Be patient in that process. And Tiger was smart enough to respect the guidance and the knowledge of his coach and stay with it rather than throw everything in when that setback did occur. So I think in all of that, one of the other key things is you have to remember that you need to be able to respect the process. And I know that's just a really dirty word in sports now, is a process, but you have to respect the process, and you have to respect the coach who's actually facilitating the process. So kudos to you for helping him lose that weight.
Yeah, we almost take we encourage someone to take their eye off the result and push their eye to the behaviors, right? For people who have followed Oxygen and the other coaches, Claritas Collective, For the Love of Softball, Sundog Yoga, our MedTech students through the month of December. And we encouraged people to get comfortable with their behaviors, right? We do all of these things for a reason, and kind of this mental game of get comfortable with your behaviors and then start to adjust what your results look like. And we almost do game all of the things because it's not about the date on the calendar. Yeah, we're talking about goals because it's a buzzword for people in January, but it's all leading along where we want to be, but it's the behaviors that get us the result. We just have to stop looking at the buzzword of result. It's odd that we have all done this, right? However many years we've been alive. Oh, New Year's resolution. Rose, you said it when we first got started. I hate that word. I do too, right? Please don't tell me you're going to set a New Year's resolution. I would so much rather you tell me you're going to set a goal for December 28th than January 1st, because right. It's like setting yourself up for failure. I think Taylor and I have talked so many times about getting on a horse, right? And setting an expectation for something. But if you don't do the same routine, if you don't put an animal in the right mindset by the same tech up routine, the same, I'm going to get you out of your stall and do the same things, right? Killer, off the top of your head, tell me what are the same 3 things you do every time you get a horse out of the stall to put that horse in the mindset that it's time to go to work?
I mean, tack's a big thing. They get boots on their feet, they get a saddle on their back, and they get a bridle on their face.
Right. So
They know it's time to go to work.
Time to go to work, right? And we use the horses as that magnifier, and then we come back to ourselves and go, oh, but we're human, we don't need that. You know, if we could all just go to the barn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, animals and children
I
can
mean,
teach
even
us a
with the
ton.
horses, I mean, you still have to. Yeah, I mean, even with the horses, you still have to, you know, you do have that goal, but it's going to take a couple little steps to get to your big goal. You know, I'm not going to get on a 2-year-old horse and expect them to run and slide a nice fancy stop. They have to learn how to do it. They have to get comfortable with it. They have to build up their muscles for it. And then we can show them how it's done, and then they can go out there and have fun with it.
The
So
safety.
true.
Tell
What's
me
it called?
well, that would be a safety issue, right? Like I wouldn't put somebody on a horse for our own safety. Then we would come back, and for our own mental safety, for our own emotional safety, we're okay with just going rogue with a plan. Rose, tell me what you were going to say.
Yeah, it's all that process.
Animals and children.
Oh, I wasn't actually going to say anything more about animals and children, but I was going to speak into like what Kayla and Mario and Kat, like you've all said, which is there isn't a quantum leap. And I said I would refer to the book, The Slight Edge. That is the book that talks about this. Is we have this mentality from like watching movies in 2 hours or a 30-second commercial that the sexy people on the beach drinking beer with their sexy bodies in their Malibu mansion, they went from nothing to that in 30 seconds, and we're going to have it. And it's not, it's actually, you know, the trajectory isn't, you know, this great incline. It's actually a whole bunch of like small inclines and then a plateau, and then another small incline and another plateau. And the author of the book, Jeff Olson, actually uses the Apollo mission as the example. And it was off course, something crazy like 98% of the mission. Right. It was all about course correction. And that's really where the accountability and the coaching comes into play, because we are always going to need course corrected as humans. You're going to get on the horse and the horse isn't going to do what it was supposed to do today. And you're like, but we've come so far. Why aren't you doing it? Or we as humans like are going to eat the donuts. And we're like, what was I thinking? And what we have to realize is it's not this perfect plan with this quantum leap. It's this constant course correction. And there's a lot of plateaus. So we really need to start learning to love them. Those moments when Tiger had to trust his coach, that was totally a plateau and faith-based, you know, uncomfortableness, but it really is what allowed him to then win the British Open.
Right.
I love having this conversation from all of the unique backgrounds that we show up right here. And, you know, because the commonalities are so just that common. All of, whether we talk about the Apollo mission, whether we talk about Tiger Woods, whether we talk about riding horses, being a mom, being an athlete, being a business coach, if people take nothing else from our call today, the commonalities of what it takes to show up and do what you need to do to get whatever your goal is done. There are certain commonalities that make your job a little easier, right? We're all looking for kind of that hack. And it doesn't matter if you're flying a spaceship or riding a horse, there's certain things, you know. So I guess in the mindset of us kind of showing up authentically, what do you think there are 3 things are that you personally, so I'm gonna ask you about your own personal stuff for a minute. 3 things that you think you do every day that make it easier for you to show up. So for me, so I'll tell you what mine are. I focus every day on making sure I get enough water, that I move my body, because I'm a whole lot nicer person if I've got some adrenaline going in my body. And I have become a huge advocate of having a gratitude practice. What am I thankful for? And why is it a good day today? Now, I can have tons of business, other things going on in business, but those three things, as long as they happen every day, I'm a pretty steady rock. So, what three things do each of you think you do every day? Staple, or none? What do you got? Kayla, what do you do every day?
I'm gonna say the horses are a big thing for me, so I make it a point to, see or, take care of any horse, whether it's mine or someone else's, making sure that I take pride in how they live. I've chosen to have them in my life, so I'm gonna make sure they're taken care of. I'm a big person on sleep. I have to have my sleep or I'm not ready to work on the next challenge. And probably say the third thing is making myself presentable, that putting that makeup on or doing your hair or, wearing your special shirt. Those are big things for me.
I like that. Thanks for sharing.
Look good, feel good. That is absolutely one of mine, Taylor.
Yeah.
And I didn't always do it. So I've worked from home or remotely 12, 15 years before it was even cool or popular or understood. And I would have a bad habit of like rolling over to my desk in my sweats and my t-shirt. Sometimes, not that I want to admit it, my teeth were brushed or not brushed. Like it didn't really matter. Nobody was going to see me. I mean, I got to it eventually, but like I'd roll over to the desk without it. And in 2000 and beginning of 2021, I said, I'm going to get ready every day. And it was a game changer. It was a game changer. Look good, feel good. But to add something to that, and I tell all of my clients to do this, while you're getting ready, you have this time and space in the bathroom. I know it's the craziest place in the world to say this.
Nope.
You have this time and space in the bathroom that is literally, for a lot of people, your only time alone. I listen to a podcast every day in the bathroom. So that's my one. Get ready, listen to a podcast. My second is I make the beds in the house. It was and I'm almost positive it was military general that was doing like a keynote speech for a university. You might know Mario, maybe you know who it is. When he spoke, he said, you could tell us who it is.
Yep, he was an Air Force general.
Okay, who was it?
I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, but it'll come to me.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it in the notes here. And he said, if you do nothing else, make your bed every day, because if all hell breaks loose and everything goes wrong, there is one thing that is right. And I'm telling you, every time I walk past those perfectly made beds, it's like, bring it on, world. I got something going good. My bed is beautiful and it's made. And my third, which is big for me, is, and for some people, they might call it their meditation time or their quiet time or their intention setting time. For me, it is my prayer time, my prayer with the Lord, my time with the Lord. And I will spend whatever I think it takes to spend in gratitude and praying and getting my mind right and connecting with God and his intentions until I'm straight. And if it takes 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 20 minutes, I sit there. I think I had said to my dad, I'm like, I don't leave the house until there is like 30 minutes of God time under my belt. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. I cannot do the day without you, God. So those are my big three.
I love that.
I wish they were exercise and water, because I really need to do a better job with that, Kat. So we're going to add one more this year. I'll have four in 2022.
Well, I gave you 29 days in a health challenge and we didn't get it in there. So we may need some additional time. I might need an accountability coach. I think I know where to find you one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have increased my water.
Hey, preach.
That's massive.
All right, Mr. Houston.
It's funny that I'm starting to kind of see there's some similarities between us. Mine are very similar. I'm a military guy. I spent 11 years in the military. The whole bed thing, I take it a step further. I clean the whole house. It is part of my daily routine to get up and clean the whole house. It's a sense of accomplishment. And I take that moment and say, if there's nothing else that I did today, this is what I got accomplished. And I have it down to a method and a science where I can get the whole house clean in under an hour. And I mean, it's clean, because it stays that way until these other individuals come home and change
I
the
should say right
environment.
now, you're a happily married man, because everyone
Right.
watching this podcast just went, really?
Yeah. No. Okay. So you want full disclosure? So here's full disclosure. My wife has only touched the broom maybe 2 or 3 times in her life.
Don't go ratting her out now. Don't go ratting
She has
her
no
out
idea.
now.
She has no idea about the iron settings. She calls me. If she has to wash clothes, it is a national emergency.
Don't you go ratting her out now.
I mean,
No.
it's just the reality behind it. So I'll leave her alone. But yes, it is. I do clean the house each morning. My meditation time is extremely important. I take that alone time with me just to talk to God, to talk things out, to work through issues that I might have had the day before. And I'm a big replay person. In other words, I replay my day that I had the day before, where I actually walk through and say, hey, what did I say? What were some of the things that I said yesterday that I might need to walk back today? Or was there anything that I might have done yesterday that might have been offensive to someone? And I actually take that time to replay those moments. And one of the things it's funny was when I was facilitating training, I used to walk back and I would come into class, and if I thought something that I said that day before was a borderline issue, I would apologize up front and say, yesterday I said this. I want to apologize for that because I've had a moment to think about it. So that's one of the things that I do, because I feel that that's necessary for us to recap and understand where we stood and where we stand in the universe like that. But then there's also, I thought you were going there when you started, when you were talking about in front of the mirror. That's affirmation time with me. I'm a firm believer in personal affirmation. I think that it's important that we have to understand who we are, what our strengths and weaknesses are. I know where I stand, where my weaknesses are. I know where I am not good at. I know where my lane is, and I know when I should be playing in my lane. And Kat, we talked about this yesterday, just about knowing what you do well and making your mind just to do those things. In that affirmation time, I talk to myself about those things that I do well, and I reaffirm that with myself. So I know when I walk out into the day that if no one else tells me I did a good job, or I've done a good job, or I have the talent to do so, I have the ability to tell myself that. And that's something that kickstarts my day and gets me going. And I know this is a funny scene, but and I cannot recall the movie, but there's a scene where the guy is standing in front of the mirror and he says, I am the greatest. I am the best thing ever. And it sounds so funny, but that self-talk is massively important. Especially in today's environment where you have so many people telling you in social media and all these other things that you are worthless. Being able to tell yourself that you're worth something and you're worthy of the time, that's so very, very important.
Yeah, I love that. So good. Thank you for sharing that, all of you. I think it's so important that people see how different and how the same things become so prevalent in people that speak on behalf of others. So I have one more question for you guys before we throw out some social media links and give people an opportunity to follow all of you into the new year. So I gave a very broad description of what we were going to talk about today. And very rarely do I say things in a broad manner. I usually try to be pretty specific in what my ask of you when you show up for Oxygen is. So I did it on purpose, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what you came prepared to talk about today, what you came prepared to put out in the world for this podcast that we didn't talk about. This is your chance to say whatever is important or sitting on your heart and on your soul about goals and what you want our followers to hear about goals in 2022. Here's your platform. So what would you like people to know about 2022 and goals, or how you stand about it? Mario, I'm going to let you go first.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
No, I'm going to stay in the same vein, and that is know your lane. It is massively important to know your lane. It's massively important to do those things that you do really, really well. When we are not focusing on what's in our wheelhouse, we sometimes get off track. And being off track means we start to take on roles and responsibilities that we shouldn't. And in those roles and responsibilities, we may not do that thing as well. Now, if you are stretching yourself, then that's okay. But if that's your day to day, then you consistently put yourself in a position where you are starting at a deficit, where you know that whatever you do may not end up the best way that you can do it. And I use that as it's just a personal development point. And I know it's something we spoke about yesterday, where I said I'm changing my business this year to focus on those things that I do extremely well. And those are the things that I'm going to spend my time on. Yes, I will use personal development time to hone other skills, but those things that I do very, very well will be the hallmark, the kind of the center of what I need to do to be successful in business, in personal development throughout the year. So I think it's really, really important for people to understand or have a good grasp of what's your lane, how well do you drive within that lane, what are the things that you can do to bring into that lane with you to make you more successful, and really focus on, this is what I do well, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it better than anybody else has done it before. And I think that will help you. I think that helps everyone. It's going to help me in 2022. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, we had a great conversation yesterday, and you bring great things to those that you coach. So thanks for showing up. Kaylor, how about you?
I think the thing that's gonna bring through for me is with goals is, accepting those smaller steps. I think for the next year I've envisioned myself, I've set some pretty big goals for myself, and I think it's more of accepting, the many checkpoints I'll say that I'll set along the line. Check in, are we making progress? May not be the progress we're making or the progress I want to be making, but any progress is better than no progress. So I think that's going to be my biggest thing for, myself. And if anyone that works with me, I can encourage them to, if you have those, nice big goals, you want to smaller tasks in the middle that play a bigger role than you think they play.
But they like that behavior word around here. So,
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I have to say before I share anything that I still maybe had on my mind, Mario, I love what you said, because it's just because we can doesn't mean we should. We have lots of things that we can do, but it doesn't mean we should do them. And getting really into that, and I'll speak about this because it's the one thing I want to talk about, is intentions. Like, where are my strengths? What is my intention? But Kaylor, I love what you were saying too. I think it's really important to celebrate the small victories, even the tiniest ones. We actually didn't talk about this at all with like goal setting and dreaming, and that's rewards, taking time to celebrate, to treat myself, to take a moment to say I accomplished this, or not be so hard on ourselves, which is really important. But I think there's probably only like two things that I maybe had intended to speak on. And one was to keep things visual, to keep these goals in front of you, to keep these intentions and these dreams, however you're creating your plan in front of you for you to visually see. Because once it gets stuffed in a drawer in the back of the notebook, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And then the other thing was maybe just a little example on like what it looks like to have a dream or an intention versus a goal, and just kind of play with that for a second. So like, even for myself, a dream of mine would be to lose 20 pounds, but is that really my dream? No, my dream is to have a body that operates with ease. And there's a big shift in that, to this number 20 and to this, I want a body that operates with ease because I got things to do and I want to be out there and I want to be able, this is the vehicle in which I get to do any of the work that I'm going to do. That's a dream. That's an intention. The 20 pounds is really secondary. Now I can take that dream, that intention, and make it into something even smaller than 20 pounds. But I'm taking it away from like a number or a metric, and I'm making it like heart-centered, and I'm taking it back to like who I really am, what I'm really good at, what I really desire, and why I want it. And that makes it easy to be motivated. Because now I'm aligned. I call like goal setting, is really the steps, we talked about that, of taking that dream and turning it into reality. And to me, that's a lot of intention. It's a lot of alignment. And for me, divine alignment. So like, I love saying it this way. It's your intended position designed by God for me. If you are in that, like that makes goal setting exciting.
Yes.
I'm living on, just a perfect high, because that's really expansive to me.
That's huge.
I love that when you and I talk about things like this in reference to someone or something specifically, or even if we're just talking broad topics like this, I think it's always so important that we keep in mind what is important to that person, right? Like, are they a visual person? Are they a very numbers driven person, right? For some people, they are a numbers person and they themselves need that number. Sometimes they're leading an organization of people who they are the numbers person, but their people aren't. And we have so many different dynamics. So we have to keep in mind all of the moving pieces. And I am so thankful for all of you that you understand your own goals, but the goals of other people and how we all envision this. And showing up like this would be my one kind of point as we come to a close here. I think you have to find your tribe, right? And I say this often, you have to find your tribe and you have to love them hard. And when I say that, sometimes people will look at me a little funny, like, you want me to do what? But you have to find the people around you that can hold you accountable, right? Who can say to you, you know what, Rose, I don't think you're a numbers person. Tell me more, right? Or, hey, Mario, you seem a little off today. But did you make your bed? Like, what's up with you, right? And you have to find your people that know enough, right? Like, hey, Kaylor, when was the last time you were on a horse? Because you're a little crabby, and who calls you out? Who knows that maybe you're a little off balance, and who pushes you to be a higher person? Who pushes you to dream big? And I think when we say to people, find your tribe and love them hard, that's how we stay fulfilled, whatever being fulfilled looks like. We are so fortunate here that even things like this collaboration today can happen. I think all of you are part of my tribe and I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you for showing up every day. I appreciate you for showing up today. But things like this cause people to level up and cause me to level up every day. I think we allow people to level up in their own lives, whether they call in for accountability, they call in for training, they listen to us on a podcast. And that's a bigger calling than any of us can ever hope for. So thank you for being on this today. I hope all of you have awesome things in store for you for 2022. I know you do, because you're all amazing. I'm going to give the social media tags for Oxygen, and then when we post this, I'm going to give everybody's social media tags in the posting, because you're able to follow everyone that's on this video today on their own social media. So if you're listening to us on Spotify, then you can find us on Facebook at Breathe Oxygen In. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll find us at Cat Fry and the Oxygen Coaches, and YouTube at Oxygen EQ, where there's all kinds of training videos and all the things. If you're seeing this as a video, then you'll see those tags roll across the bottom. And like I said, we'll link Mario, Kaylor, and Rose and Claritas Collective in there as well. And hopefully you will have amazing goals and all the love in 2022.
2022 is going to be amazing.
Yes, it is.
It
We end all of
is.
our podcasts with a wish that you take just a little bit of time to breathe life in, put your feet flat on the floor, drop your shoulders from your ears, take your tongue off of your mouth and take a big breath in. Thank you for being here. Bye, guys.